This is a presentation brought to you by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality on the draft operating license proposed to be issued to PetroChem Processing Group of Nortrue LLC for its hazardous waste storage and treatment facility. PetroChem is located at 421 Lycast Street in the city of Detroit in Wayne County, Michigan. This facility is identified in the state and federal hazardous waste program under the identification number MID 980615298. PetroChem has been a commercial hazardous waste storage and treatment facility at this location since 1980. The facility operations are conducted on approximately 8.5 acres of land. PetroChem received a hazardous waste treatment and storage facility operating license on June 16, 1999. That license expired on June 16, 2009. However, the facility submitted a timely renewal application on May 18, 2009. PetroChem may continue to operate until DEQ makes a final decision on that renewal application. Hazardous waste generated at or received by PetroChem are characteristic and listed hazardous waste, including waste from specific processes, spent materials, commercial chemical byproducts, and off-specification materials. Hazardous wastes are stored in 10 container storage areas and stored and/or treated in 4 tank systems at the facility. The license will enable the facility to continue to store and treat hazardous waste in tanks and store hazardous waste in containers. The DEQ is proposing to reissue PetroChem an operating license for a term of 10 years. The license has 6 parts. Part 1 covers requirements that are included in all licenses, such as general duties and legal requirements to operate the facility in a manner to prevent harm to human health, welfare, or the environment. Part 2 covers requirements such as waste analysis, record keeping, emergency procedures in the event of a release, inspection requirements, financial assurance requirements, and requirements for closing the facility should PetroChem cease to operate the storage and treatment units. Parts 3 and 4 of the license cover site-specific requirements for storage in containers and storage and treatment in tank systems. Requirements include conditions on storage capacity, locations and design, and types of waste to be stored and treated. The next 2 slides list the specific areas where the facility is authorized to store hazardous waste in 55-gallon containers at the facility. For more information on each unit, please refer to the operating license on the DEQ website. The total authorized container storage capacity under the license is 385,399 gallons of hazardous waste. The facility operates 4 tank systems, including 1 system in the container management building. The overall tank system storage capacity is 646,956 gallons of hazardous waste. The overall tank system treatment capacity, including fuel blending, is 155,000 gallons per day of hazardous waste. Further information on these tank systems is contained in the facility operating license on the DEQ website. This slide shows the location of the hazardous waste management units at the facility. This is an aerial photo of the facility showing the location of the container storage and tank storage and treatment units at the facility. Operating license addresses the environmental monitoring requirements for groundwater and ambient air at the facility. This monitoring tells us whether any releases have occurred and whether those releases are migrating from the facility. Further information on environmental monitoring programs is available later in this presentation. Part 6 of the draft license contains conditions regarding corrective actions at the facility. Corrective action conditions identify waste management units, or WMUs, at the facility and their status, and the process and requirements for conducting investigations, evaluations, and other actions at WMUs. The corrective action provisions of the operating license also cover procedures for notifying the DEQ in case of a release at the facility, and for conducting investigation, corrective measure study, and corrective actions for releases. Currently, PetroChem is investigating a release to groundwater. The draft license also includes 11 attachments that identify specific technical information for the facility. These attachments are available for review on the DEQ website.
My name is David Slayton, and I am the project geologist assigned to this facility for the Resource Management Division of the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. I'm going to discuss the environmental monitoring activities the facility is required to conduct by its operating license. The purpose of the environmental monitoring is to detect possible releases from the facility that could potentially impact human health and/or the environment. The type of environmental monitoring the facility is required to conduct includes groundwater monitoring and air monitoring. PetroChem is located at 421 Lycast Street in the city of Detroit in Wayne County, Michigan. PetroChem has been a commercial hazardous waste storage and treatment facility at this location since 1980. Prior to 1980, the property was used as an oil refinery and an oil storage area. This slide shows a generalized diagram of the geology underlying the site. The subsurface geology consists of unconsolidated sediments overlying bedrock. At the surface, there are natural peat deposits that have been covered by fill material, which consists of sand, cinders, peat, bricks, and fine ash. This fill and peat layer varies from 3 to 10 feet thick. Beneath that is about 100 to 120 feet of clay, under which is the bedrock. In this part of Detroit, the bedrock is shale and limestone. The surface fill and peat layer has some groundwater perched on that clay layer. It is not capable of producing enough water to be used and is not a drinking water source. The surface layer is where the monitoring wells are placed to check the groundwater quality. The clay layer, or glacial till as it is called, is not an aquifer since it cannot produce enough water. The bedrock limestone is an aquifer, but in the Detroit area it is not generally used for drinking water as the quality of the groundwater is not good due to naturally high mineral content and occasional natural crude oil smell. Drinking water in Detroit is supplied by the city. The water comes from the Detroit River, which is treated before distribution. Because further investigation will be done for the known groundwater contamination, the monitoring data will be used to track trends in concentration of contaminants. Once the investigation is completed, options to contain, control, or treat the shallow groundwater will be proposed by PetroChem if necessary and reviewed by the DEQ. Groundwater samples will be taken from 10 monitoring wells. Samples will be taken twice a year, that is semi-annually. PetroChem will test for volatile organic compounds, abbreviated VOCs, and semi-volatile organic compounds, abbreviated SVOC. The groundwater data will be submitted to the DEQ on a regular basis, including an annual report that summarizes what was found in the samples. The licensee will also be conducting ambient air monitoring. Air samples will be taken at 4 locations surrounding the site. The samples will be checked for volatile organic compounds, again VOCs, basically solvents. The air monitors will be sampled once every 6 days. Data from the samples will be submitted and reviewed by the Air Quality Division. There are standards for the measured compounds that have to be met, otherwise corrective actions must be taken. With that, we will now go over a brief compliance summary for the site.
Compliance summary. The facility has been in compliance with environmental monitoring requirements of its previous hazardous waste management facility operating license and Part 111 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, NREPA. Conditions in the draft operating license for compliance include conditions to begin construction of authorized but unused capacity within 3 years after license issuance. The DEQ is seeking public input on the draft license until October 18, 2012. Please submit written comments, requests to be placed on the facility mailing list, and all other requests for information to Mr. Daniel Daly, Resource Management Division, Department of Environmental Quality, Post Office Box 30241, Lansing, Michigan 48909, or you can submit by email at daileyd@michigan.gov. If you are providing comments on the draft license, please provide your contact information so you can be added to the facility's mailing list. This concludes our presentation on the PetroChem facility and the proposed draft operating license. Thank you for viewing this presentation.